if she's going to resign from that position and continue on as the ALC director.
And I'm just going to give you my 2 cents worth after that. That's a mandatory leave that the state statute has. Once you get to that 5-year period of time, since you've already approved that, it would be my suggestion that you look very carefully at, if it happens again, that they're going to reapply for an extended leave, to be very careful whether or not you're going to give that extended leave out the next time. Okay? And that's what the history has been, that sometimes this board has granted that extra extended leave of absence, and that sometimes creates some headaches. Okay, so that's the difference between the two.
Any further questions or comments on this item? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second to approve the 2011 to 2013 Faribault Education Association Memorandum of Understanding. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign?
No.
Okay, why don't we do a roll call?
James?
Aye.
Richard?
No.
Jason?
Aye.
Deb?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
And I'll vote aye. And the vote is 5-1 in favor.
Motion carries.
Could I just ask that this is through 2013, so we're sort of in the middle of the current contract as we're approving it, that before we look at this again next year, that we see what is this common practice among all school districts, and I just like a little more information before I approve this again, I guess is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How many people, you know, so I look at the history, how many people have we approved for 5-year leaves, and what's the cost of that?
Yeah, and I think too the flip side of it, which would be good research, is to go back and see what the savings was as a result of it too. So you have both those in there. I think that's a very good idea.
Okay. Item 10B, approve resolution 12-7, placing probationary staff on terminated status. Let's see here, I have to get to that.
So move.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Yeah, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this item?
And I have a question, since James brought up with the last person, with Ms. Gare, Angela McAndrews is on this list.
Oh, yeah.
So we're terminating our teacher's contract to hire her for the other position?
That's correct.
Okay. Just making sure I got it.
Any further questions on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor? Oh wait, did we do a motion in a second?
Yes.
We did a motion in a second, right?
We have to do a roll call.
This requires a roll call.
Okay, James?
Yes, aye.
Richard?
Yeah.
Jason?
Aye.
Deb?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
I'll vote aye, 6-0, passes.
All right. Item 10C, approve the 2011, the 2013 MAPE contract for the interpreters.
I'm waiting for it to load up here. The highlights in there are the changes within the contract. You can see what the settlement was. It's the same as the teacher's percentage. Are there 4 staff members that represent the interpreters? Yeah. I think there were really only 2 changes other than dates and some grammatical things. The one thing that we did add was grandparents for sick leave. And we also added, was it 35 minutes of, what was it, continuous, I'll have to find it here. Grandchild, I'm sorry. We added grandchild of the employee in which the employee was responsible for, so that was one of the items that we added for the sick leave. And then the other one was every effort shall be made to provide an interpreter a minimum of 35 minutes per day for planning time. So those were the basic changes within the contract is all.
Any questions on this item? All right, hearing none, I will.
It's not
Sorry?
just sick time, it's, school conferences or classroom activities too.
Yes, all those different, pieces that are in there. Thanks for clarification.
But they have to have responsibility, it's not just any grandparent
Yep.
attending, they have to be the primary caretaker, I read that in.
That's correct.
Okay. Hearing no other questions at this moment, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
No.
Okay, let's do a roll call.
James,
Aye.
Richard,
No.
Jason,
Aye.
Deb,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
and I'll vote aye for 5 to 1. Yes.
Item 10D is a discussion item. Levy discussion on focus groups. Todd, do you want to take us through that?
Sure. One of the items that we talked about, and actually James, you can chime in anytime too, that was talked about at the Finance Committee meeting was prior to the school board deciding whether or not they want to run a levy for next fall is to develop some focus groups to hear from some of the citizens within the school district about the potential programs that are being changed within the scope of the school district and what may happen if a levy doesn't pass, and just answering general questions that are out there of why we should run a levy for next fall. So we had brainstormed a little bit at Cabinet, and we talked about various focus groups that represent various areas of the community. For example, we would like to get a group that may be able to talk to the businesses or the chamber and have some at least leaders or representatives within that group, or talk to people who represent the staff, maybe get Tim and another teacher and some support staff to at least start communicating to the staff some rationale for going out for a levy referendum next fall.
Center.
And seniors, senior centers. Actually, I had a whole list. I didn't bring it with. Did you bring yours by chance, Nicole or Joanne? Joanne gave me the list, and I left it right on my desk. So we're looking for some feedback for how, first of all, how you feel about that, to try to get some input from community, and it can be positive going forward for a referendum or negative, why we shouldn't go for a referendum. I think we'd like to hear from as many constituents as we possibly can. But we thought it made more sense to have different focus groups separate in their different entities to discuss, because they all have maybe different ideas of why or why not you want to go for a levy. So I guess the first thing is to see if the board is supportive of us going out and looking at those focus groups, and then if they are, give us some examples of what you would like to see, and if you have some names, you can certainly email them to me too.
Todd, I don't think you said, would you tell us a little bit about the timeline you're hoping to put together for these focus groups?
Yeah, I'd like to really see those focus groups at least get together within the next 3 weeks or so, 3 or 4 weeks, so we have some good feedback before the May meeting. If we don't have enough information at the May meeting, we can wait till the first meeting in June. But it would be really nice to have some good feedback at the very minimum, the first June meeting, so that you guys have a good idea whether or not you want to pursue a referendum. Okay.
Other questions or comments for Todd on this item?
Will these groups be presented with specific proposals, I guess would be the... It's one thing to ask if they might support or what they might support in terms of a possible levy, but are we anywhere along the road in terms of offering a product that we, and I realize we haven't had the kind of the extent of discussion that we will need to have, but there have been some discussions, and is the district in a place where we can present these focus groups with some of our ideas in terms of, I'll throw one out, a 7-period day at our high school.
Mhm.
Another, keeping and sustaining all-day, everyday kindergarten. Is that part of the focus group process? And if so, if it's not, I would think that it maybe should be, but I'll stop there.
Yeah, I think so. I think you hit the nail right on the head. I think that when we talk to our leadership team, not only are we going to look at different things like the 7-period day, although I think we can kind of get stuck in that 7-period day. I'd just like to see a restructure of the school day to help us free up some time so we can offer some different courses. So whatever that structure looks like, I think that's
7-period or whatever.
Yep.
That's just a tag for me.
Exactly. And I think that piece is a good piece. I like some of the discussion that Mr. Hubert had with regard to reducing participation fees for kids so that in our community we have a pretty high poverty rate, and sometimes lowering some of those fees is a good thing for our activities, not just athletics, but also all the co-curricular activities. Personally, I'd like to see them go to 0, but I know that that's a pretty hard sell. And then on the other side, I think through our leadership meeting, we're going to be talking about if this doesn't pass, what are the cuts that we're going to be suggesting to these groups and the board, that if a referendum doesn't pass, that the board is going to have to commit themselves to making those real cuts next spring. So, and I can tell you this, that if it doesn't pass, you're probably going to be looking at, and I just do the theory I have is if you don't cut the total amount, you have to double what you didn't cut. So the board did cut $900,000. We've covered that up with the fund balance and also the OPEB account. You're going to be looking at probably $1.7, $1.8 million next spring. So we're going to have to come up with a list that's going to be addressing what we will have to cut if a referendum doesn't pass. So I think a combination of those we can get done. We're not going to have it all complete, but I think that's okay. We can get some feedback from these focus groups to see where their hot topics are and put that all together. When you look at our future projections, and the finance committee will have to take a look at that, I think the next time if we do some levy scenarios, even getting to the average, if we don't get any new revenue from the state of Minnesota, it's going to be hard to propose a lot of new programs. So we have to be careful on where we're going to be looking at as far as introducing new programs and new structure for the school district. So,
well, thank you, because that you've spoken to the concern that I was mentioning earlier at our curriculum committee, brought up by a number of parents, and they felt so strongly that they need to have some specifics to look at, consider, that whatever program might be put forward needs to be as detailed as we can manage in both regards. What we might be able to do if the levy does pass, and what we are going to be forced into doing if it does not.
you bet.
I'll just say I had mentioned to Todd when we were discussing this agenda late last week that I think there's a fine line to walk here with these focus groups. This relates to what you were saying, Tom. I think it's important to bring forth some ideas to them. At the same time, I worry a little bit about having a focus group whose intent is to find out what the community wants from us, where we tell them what they want from us and then ask them if they like that. So there is some aspect of I want to get their feedback on what it is they're interested in, as well as getting feedback from them on ideas that we already have there. So that's a balancing act. It isn't one way or the other. It's not a right or wrong, but it's a balancing act that I will entrust to those running those focus groups to try and get right.
I think that's the chair of the board.
Thank you, James.
I do have, I've listed senior citizens, business staff, school staff, rural and township, city, parents, of course. Can you think of other focus groups that you would like to add to that discussion, and then we can search out some individuals that.
I would just say recent alumni. How well they feel the school served them.
Not that they wouldn't already be represented in one of the groups you've already mentioned, but I think the service clubs represent a leadership component in our community, and I think they might have some reaction. Again, some members there'd be some overlap, no doubt, but
Looking at Joanne, did I miss any?
Only different groups of parents who've got children, young adults with no children, which might be the alumni.
Mm-hmm.
Farming community
Yeah, I have rural and township.
or ethnic
Oh yeah, the ethnic.
diversity, economic diversity, blue collar population, and business owners.
Yep.
May I have one, the teachers at the college?
That's a good one.
another group might be our retired educators organization.
All right, well, this isn't the last moment. I'm sure that we can give Todd our ideas too. So if something is not coming to anyone right now, please feel free to contact Tom and let him know your ideas for those focus groups. They'll certainly be welcome. And we'll try to have as many of those as we can to represent as large of a cross-section of our community as we can. Other questions on those focus groups? Is that plan? Okay. Item 11, other items of information. Student representative is not here tonight to join us. School board members, any items of note? Okay. Superintendent, Todd, any items?
Yeah, I went to a STEP program up at Anoka Tech College with Mr. Stover, Keith Stover, Dr. Stover, and then Ryan Radesky, and then also we met a couple of people up at the Anoka Tech College to look at how they are collaborating with the Anoka-Hennepin School District, which is the largest school district in the state. But they had some great ideas, and both Ryan and I came back with some ideas that we'd like to also present in that whole curriculum discussion when we talk about the 7-period day and see what other sort of vocational courses we could do in combination with South Central College. So I thought it was a very good meeting. I was at the honors banquet last night. Our Rotary Club, local Rotary Club, sponsored, I think it was their 45th or right around, I'm going to get this wrong, 48th event. They've been doing this for a long time where they honor kids, and I believe the GPA cutoff is about 3.5 for both Bethlehem Academy School in Faribault and then also the Faribault Public School. So very well attended, and it was a nice event last night. May 4th is the Big Nine Music Fest, and that's an all-day program. All the Big Nine schools are coming to Faribault, so that'll be a fun day at the high school, May 4th, so you can mark your calendars on that. I unfortunately can't attend to that meeting. My daughter graduates from Winona State University, so I'm going to have to miss that one. But I'll make it next year, I promise. The Chamber Expo is April 26th at the Ice Arena. The school district does have a booth there, and I would encourage you to come on down and take a look. I am also going to be working the Rotary booth, and we're selling some tickets. I'm going to get my little inside thing for Rotary before James does. If you want to buy a ticket to buy a car for $20, come to me, and I can sell you that
No,
ticket.
you don't buy a
Oh,
car, win a
okay,
car.
all right. That's right. All these technical
I like what Todd
details.
said better.
Yep, we're gonna go see Todd.
You can win a car for $20 for a raffle ticket. All right, I'll do it. So, but we will be selling those at the expo as well. So that's all I have. Oh, I'm sorry, legislative update. I've got a couple of things. The LIFO bill, you may have heard of that, the last in, first out. It's based on teacher seniority. It will pass the House and the Senate, but the governor has said that he will veto that. We don't know if that's going to happen or not. It depends on what sort of amendments get attached to it and what sort of negotiating they do, but it doesn't look like that the LIFO bill, the seniority bill, will pass. But stay tuned. The payoff to schools was vetoed. You probably saw that in the news. The Senate and the House both passed the payback of the surplus that the state had, and the governor vetoed that. And I think it was more of a political reason than anything else, but that's what happens up at the state capitol too. So it looks like we'll stay at our, what's the percentage now?
I think it's 67.
67%, 33%, so we get 67% of our funding, and the state holds on to 33% for a little while, and they keep on doing that shift every single year. So that's about it. Now, I don't, you know, for everything that's happening up there, I guess inside nothing's really happening, if that's making any sense.
What happened to that bill about limiting when you could run election studies?
When you can run what now?
When you could run levies and only have.
Oh, that just happened probably last week. There was an amendment to take that off of the bill, so that is no longer part of the bill.
Okay, thank you, Todd. Item 12, some dates to remember. May 7th, 2012, 5:30 p.m., a work session at the district office. May 8th, 2012, at 3:45, a wellness committee meeting at the district office. May 14th at 7:30 a.m. at the finance committee meeting at the district office. May 14th at 6 p.m. The policy meeting at the district office. And May 21st at 6:30, our regular board meeting right back here in City Hall. Deb also asked me to mention that the high school is putting on their musical this April 19th through the 21st, which is titled, and we know the title of that, something about the 80s. And as a child of the 80s, I'm going to be there, I promise. All right.
May 15th at 3:30 at the district office, the curriculum committee.
To talk about the levy,
Seems like we forget that every month.
to talk about the levy.
Yeah.
Well, that's been one of our discussion items. We're also, again, looking at curriculum addressing of our strategic vision.
Thank you, Tom.
Graduation June 3rd.
Yeah, graduation is June 3rd, and board members are supposed to be at the high school at what time?
About 1 p.m.
Yeah, we'll send reminders out to you.
All right. Any other dates to remember? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
Aye.
moved.
Second.
All right, we are adjourned.